But the thing with the squat is nice. Just in general, kind of clearing up. I think I had some confusion for myself on that. If someone, do you like try to teach people how to do a moving squat day one? Or will you, I think you've mentioned this before, but starting with like ISOs?
Yeah, ISO for, let's say, so normally like Dave sees someone for like a strategy session. Unless they're in pain and really deconditioned, he might take them through an ISO squat, like show them once. Then they come in and see me, I take them through it. And then they come in for their first semi-private, they probably still do an ISO as their quad dominant, like as the tricep. And in probably third, fourth session, what I end up doing is just adding a box. That way they don't have to figure out what the depth is. Because I used to be like, go slow, I'll tell you when to stop, like right there. And then they just would go too far down, not far enough, and it wouldn't keep it consistent. So what we do is we just add a bench. So they're on the ramp holding onto the barbell, and they're doing this for a few sessions, and then I tell them, okay, now keep that position. And it's a little lower. And that way they're hitting the same depth every single time. And they do that for maybe a session or two. And then we move on to goblet at 15 pounds, 20 pounds. Yeah. And they do the squat every time they come in. So they have the same program, A day and B day.
Okay.
So then I'm able to progress them much faster because they're squatting every time they come in. They're doing an assisted step up every time they come in.
That's cool.
Putting them in short seated with all their upper body lifts, which is also reinforcing the squat. So then I'm able to progress someone to a goblet squat way sooner than I used to.
I like that.
It really works well, and people get way less frustrated.
Yeah.
They don't even notice.
Sweet.
When people come back from being gone a while, or people that I just struggle with, the ones that like the weight looks heavy every single week and it just doesn't progress. Like the 26-pound squat looks the same for 6 weeks and it just doesn't get better. So with those people, we've been experimenting and giving them the same workout. So, and then we just add a little bit different like finishers or just different ab exercises to give them some variation. But then they're squatting and doing step ups every single time they come in. And then we're seeing those people progress a little faster.
Cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Any questions?
How do you cue the reach with the squat? Do you use like a crawl hold or something to cue this motion? Because like that's also really hard for people. Most of them like do like this and they feel all the neck or their shoulders. So what for an exercise do you use to teach them this? Or do you just go with the squat?
They learn the reach with the bar first. So it's an unweighted. And since they get used to that, when I tell them to reach with the weight, I tell them it has to feel the same or look the same. But what I'll do is if they're here holding the weight, I will get in front of them and drive the ribs down and then elbows forward and then just relax this.
Okay.
Because of COVID, now that I don't touch people, I always mirror them. I always do the side view. I do exercise with them. I'm like, okay, now grab your kettlebell, reach everything back. And that seems to work better than manual cues.
Yeah. And then with the split squat, do you start with the slight lean forward and just go a little bit up and down before like getting your upper body a little bit more upright, or does it depend on the client?
Depends on the client. Some clients, I just keep them with a slight forward lean forever. Like I was telling Marco about his squat, I would rather have a slight, because technically this is a squat. Here you're kind of hinging back, right? But I would rather have a little bit of a hingy squat with a slight forward lean with a stacked rib cage versus trying to be upright and unstacked.
Yeah.
And I see that a lot with squatting. People are trying to go down, but then it kind of looks like this.
Yeah.
So I would totally rather have someone hinge a tiny bit and keep a stacked position versus staying upright.
Okay.
And if I'm really struggling to load that, if they're just not getting it, then I add things like a lot of assisted tempo, like my group class people who don't care about breathing. And I hadn't trained them in years, but yeah, they talk through the whole entire warm up because they're friends. So they're not paying attention to anything. And with them, like what I'll do is I'll do a lot of assisted step up, like high step ups, and give them rules, and assisted tempo squats for like a minute on and 20 seconds off. So they're doing squats for a whole minute. And I just tell them to isolate your quads, make sure your hips go straight down. You cannot let them go back. So I almost make it a game and add those patterns with a lot of assistance if I can't load a good looking squat. Mm-hmm.